Hello, I'm Mark from Moonstone Publications. Welcome to this overview of some of the stories we've covered over the past week. But first, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Coming up in this week's update, financial optics might have been the reason for the Road Accident Fund's decision to change its accounting standards. What's on the agenda at Moonstone's compliance webinar next month? A Pan-African infrastructure investor is fined for FICA non-compliance. The Supreme Court of Appeal voids 2 settlement agreements between Standard Bank and a trust. South Africa now has a national climate index to guide risk management. The Minister of Police is found liable for losses incurred during a farm attack. And is CGT taxing phantom profits rather than genuine gains? The Road Accident Fund's decision to change its accounting rules effectively made the fund's huge long-term claims disappear from its balance sheet, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts inquiry heard this week. The decision in 2021 to adopt IPSAS 42 narrowed reported claims from the order of several hundred billion rand to under 30 billion rand on paper. Asked why the RAF pressed ahead despite being advised it could not adopt the standard, the fund's former acting chief financial officer, Victor Songelwa, said the only plausible explanation was that by narrowing the liabilities, the RAF would look less indebted and therefore be more attractive to lenders. Booking is open for Moonstone Compliance's Regulatory Update webinar. The popular workshop takes place on the 12th of November. The session will give financial services providers clear, practical guidance on compliance priorities. On the agenda is a review of regulatory developments since last year's webinar, an explanation of emerging reporting obligations, including the OMNI-Risk return, and an assessment of the implications of the Conduct of Financial Institutions Bill. There'll be an update on FICA, business risk assessments, and management's responsibilities for maintaining effective FICA frameworks. The final segment will provide FSPs with practical steps to manage cyber risk and align their controls with regulatory expectations. The Financial Sector Conduct Authority has imposed an administrative penalty of 1.7 million rand on Harith General Partners for FICA non-compliance. Harith is one of Africa's largest infrastructure investors. R500,000 rand of the total penalty was conditionally suspended for 2 years. The FSCA said its inspection identified deficiencies in Harith's risk management and compliance program, inadequate customer due diligence, and failures in employee and sanction screening. The Supreme Court of Appeal has affirmed that credit providers may not use settlement agreements to sidestep the National Credit Act when enforcing consumer credit. The SCA declared 2 settlement agreements between Standard Bank and a family trust unlawful and void, even though they had been made orders of court. The agreements were found to be supplementary agreements prohibited by the NCA because they changed key terms and bypassed statutory enforcement mechanisms. The Actuarial Society of South Africa has launched a climate index to track the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events and support risk management. The publicly available and free-to-use index provides quarterly updates comparing current weather patterns with a 30-year baseline. It is intended to help insurers, medical schemes, farmers, and policymakers when formulating responses to changing weather patterns. The High Court has ruled that the Minister of Police is liable for 2 million rand in damages after the police failed to act during an attack on a farm 10 years ago. The judgment reaffirms that the state can be held delictually liable for neglecting its constitutional duty to protect life and property. The court found that police officers, despite repeated warnings of an impending protest, stood by as community members entered the farm and set machinery on fire and slaughtered game. A renewed debate has emerged over whether capital gains tax unfairly penalises investors by taxing phantom profits created by inflation and currency depreciation rather than genuine gains. Writing for the Free Market Foundation, Brian Benfield, a retired economics professor, argues that the current CGT regime discourages investment and undermines tax fairness by failing to adjust for inflation. He argues that South Africa should implement inflation indexing to ensure that only real gains are taxed. That's all we have for this week. You can read these stories and many more on our website, moonstone.co.za. Until next time, here's wishing you all the best from the team at Moonstone Information Refinery.